Happy Friday. Oh, allergies are showing already. Hi, everybody. It's Maddie with the Calming the Chaos Collective and the owner and journey coach with Cerebrations LLC. And hello in the Calming the Chaos Collective. So as always, if you come on, say hi and let me know you're here. If you watch on replay, just say hashtag replay or replay so that I can connect with you and see what you think about what we're talking about this week. I have some announcements at the end, so make sure that you go all the way to the end because I'm very excited. But this week we're talking about self-worth. So self-worth, it's, I think it's this word that means lots of different things. But at the end of the day, it really is about how we feel about ourselves. And I was just talking to one of my coaching clients, and she was talking about how the chaos NATO that we talk about, this tornado in our brain, can just suck up all of that feeling of self-worth and leave this destruction in its way. And I think that's so true. I think it's really true how much that happens. And where we end up is we end up in this place where this chaos in our brains is telling us all kinds of things, telling us we're not worthy, it's telling us we're not lovable, it's telling us that people are going to leave us and not like us, it's telling us that we aren't good enough. It's always kind of one of those frames, those frames that we use, these negative frames. I am way too much. That's unfortunately not what I say to myself. I say much worse things to myself. But we get into this spiral, and it's almost like once we're in this spiral, it's really hard to get out. And so I want to talk today about some tools and some ways to start thinking about that. Hey, Teresa, it's good to see you. I'm so glad that you're here live from Oregon, which I understand is a very beautiful place. I haven't been there, but one of those places I want to go at some point. So today we're going to be talking about how we can get the self-worth back. I don't, again, and I always say this, but I think it's super important that we understand, is that this isn't a perfection thing. And to be honest with you, if we are perfectly have great self-worth all the time, here's the reality, is that I don't know that we're ever on our knees then to meet God. And so I think that that's counterproductive, but there's always a middle ground, and that's where I'm always hoping that I get to, is this middle ground between feeling completely unworthy and thinking I'm the best thing on the planet. And the middle grounds are really hard for us, but that's really where our goal should always be, are those middle grounds. So a couple of things. One of the things I said yesterday in the post was, when I am deep in this spiral, I will start talking out loud to myself. And one of my friends actually said to me that it's a really good thing because often when the enemy gets a hold of that and we're moving, talking out loud helps us reconnect with who we are and helps move the enemy away. And I think that's a really interesting concept because a lot of times when I'm trapped in my brain, I don't always it's just not as what's the word I'm looking for? It's not as real. That's the word I'm looking for. And so when I say, you know what, here's who I really am, and I say it out loud, it gets out of it goes out of the chaos, and this chaos is happening in my brain, and it allows my ears, my other senses, my hearing memory to hear what I'm saying. And it just sounds different when we say it out loud. My son will come in sometimes and goes, you're talking to yourself. I'm like, dude, yes. I am really aware I'm talking to myself. This is one of my strategies. I'm talking to the enemy. I'm telling him to just move on. Not today, Satan. So one of the things I think is really important is that you find a phrase that you use, and it's something that you practice so that when you are in these chaos NATOs, that you don't have to think about it. It just naturally comes out. So mine is always, and I talked about this week, and I will continue to talk about it. Mine is always, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. If I am fearfully and wonderfully made by God, all of this other stuff doesn't matter because God loves me and he knows me and he knows who I am. And that's what starts bringing me out of this spinning. God knows me as his child. God knows me as a flawed human being, but gives me the grace to be that person. So I'm going to, and just so you guys know, when you're watching, there's a delay. So if you're wondering why I'm going back a little bit, it says, Teresa says that I will have to try that. I don't speak out loud very often because I'm almost always alone, and it feels odd to talk out loud when it's just me in the room. That's my favorite time to talk out loud. It's when I'm by myself, because then nobody says anything. The other thing I do is actually talk out loud to God, because again, I get lost in my thoughts. So I can be praying or I can be talking to God. And then I start going down this squirrel path on trying to figure out, like, I don't know what I'm going to do for dinner or this. So the talking out loud is really powerful to get around all of the chaos and get around the distractions. And so I actually do talk out loud to the enemy, and I talk out loud to God as well. So finding that phrase is really important. Something that works for you. You know, one of the things I talk about is you can find all this stuff. I can talk about what works for me, but it won't necessarily work for you. We have to figure out what's good for your brain and for your life. And some of those that I think are really important is, one of the things I find is when my emotions and our emotions make other people uncomfortable, we'll often start questioning, like, should I be feeling this way? And so one of the things that I think is really important and a good statement to say yourself is, I am allowed to feel whatever that is. You're allowed to feel that. And if we're not allowed to, we don't feel like we're allowed to feel that, we start saying these things in our head, like, I feel crazy. I must be the crazy one. Why am I feeling this way? They're right. You know, it's just, and emotions are what we feel. Teresa says, yes, I need to begin praying out loud too, as yes, less distraction. Yes, it is huge. It's a big game changer for me when I started doing that. The other thing I think that's really important is to remind ourselves and to say out loud. One of the things you might use is, my flaws give God a place to start. It's not the end. And, you know, if we are pretending to be perfect, which is, as you guys know that watch these knows that that's my MO, is pretending I'm being perfect, then I don't need God. And that's just not true. I need God like all the time. And so, but when I am able to get into this place where I recognize that my flaws allow God to get a place to start, I think that's really huge for me to remember, that those imperfections are what makes me human and what makes me a child of God, and gives God space to begin to have that relationship with me and to begin giving me that guidance, because I'm willing to hear it. Another one I really like is the stories. The stories I tell myself mean everything. And what I mean by that is, you know, there's always this reframing that we can do. And so if I am having a really bad week and I start, and this has been that bad of a week, it just has been a kind of a crazy week, and I haven't been eating like I'm supposed to be eating. I've had a headache because of that. I've, not lost weight. I mean, I could just go on, and you can hear the language that I use in my head. But the story I need to be telling myself is, we've had a tough week, and we're waiting on a COVID test, and again, and it's been a tough year. And the fact that I can stay at home and work while my son is here, and gives me that an ability to start realizing this isn't all bad. But it's the stories we start telling ourselves in our head. And what I think I find is, when I start telling those stories in my head, that I start portraying that to other people. And it's not that I sit around and complain, but it's just like, you can just kind of sense it around me, that I'm not feeling super great about who I am. And so it's because of that language and those stories. So reframing those stories are really important. And God may have needed us to be here this week for some reason. It may have helped somebody else. It may have saved us from something. I mean, we just don't know. And it then allows me, again, I talk those out loud, so that it allows me to start reframing the story I'm telling inside my head. One of my favorite passages, and I think this is really true when it comes to self-worth, is 2 Corinthians, I wrote it down somewhere, 12:9. So, and I'm going to read you the Amplified Bible version, because I love the Amplified Bible version. Sometimes it just kind of hits me upside the head and reminds me, oh yeah, this is what God is really trying to get me to understand. And it says, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My loving kindness and my mercy are more than enough, always available, regardless of the situation. For my power is being perfected and is completed and shows itself most effectively in your weaknesses. Therefore, I will all the more gladly boast in my weaknesses so that the power of Christ may completely enfold me and may dwell in me. And so this is Paul talking. He's writing to the Corinthians, the church of Corinth. I think that's right. Tell me if it's wrong. But what I love about this is it's Paul saying that God is saying to us, I am perfect in your weakness. I show up the best in your weakness. I show up the best when you start telling your stories. I show up the best when you can stop and say, you know what? I'm not great today, and I'm not feeling good about myself. So let me go to God because I can't do this on my own. And I think that where I get to in those moments is it's okay. It's okay that some days I'm not feeling great about myself. It's okay that some days I am defining myself by all this stuff that has nothing to do with who I am or who I am to God. That it's all the cultural stuff going around that I'm seeing all the time. And it's not my relationship with God that is defining me. In those moments, I can get on my knees and I can cry and I can lament and I can ask God to help me get out of that space. And that to me is what's so great about this Bible verse is that that's when God really can work in us, when we're broken and when we cry out and ask him to help us. If we're running around with great self-worth all the time, we don't get into those positions where we feel like we need God, right? A friend of mine had said to me that we were talking about community and pulling people into our fold and pulling people into our Christian community. And she said, I have some friends that kind of believe in God, but they're not really sure about it. And she said, I've realized they don't really need God. And I thought, gosh, that's so beautiful, right? That when we are at our worst is when we need God the most. And that has become such an amazing part of my life to be able to just lean in and say, okay, God, I need your help. And that's when my self-worth is at the lowest. So, I just want to encourage you guys to continue this thought process, to read your Bible. If you don't know where to start in the Bible, feel free to message me because I am not a Bible scholar. And so I'm happy to tell you that I am not a Bible scholar and just begin. I think it can be really intimidating. And I've really, in the last 2 years of my life, I have really spent a lot more time in the Bible. And it has made such sense to me. My one of my family members actually recently said to me, she said, I am amazed at what good practical advice the Bible is. And it is. It's God breathed to help us get through the stuff that we're going through. Teresa says, God is waiting for us to come to him with a heart that is open and ready to be shaped and molded. That happens when we are vulnerable and broken. That's beautiful, Teresa. Absolutely. That is exactly when God is, he's just waiting, like he just hangs out, waiting for us to come back and say, we need you. So you have probably seen that I am changing some of the Facebook covers. This workshop I've been talking about for probably 3 months now, I'm finally getting to a place where we're going to get that done. And I am so super excited about it because it's a free workshop. We're going to sit down and put all this stuff in a kind of a 5-day, here's all the stuff we've been talking about over time, but more in a structured setting with a workbook and some tools to kind of help you get through that. I love this piece, and so I'm super excited about it. There will be some extra days in there. I think on that next Saturday, we're probably going to do some meditation and prayer, some guided meditation and prayer, and so I'm super excited about that. And, we'll be doing some just kind of different things throughout the days as well. What I want people to do is dig in and be vulnerable with each other and be a part of this workshop, because that's really hard when you have anxiety to do that, because you're always worried, oh my gosh, what do these people think, blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing, we're all in the same boat. We all have same brains. We all have the same kinds of anxiety. It looks very different, but at the end of the day, it's always about fear and worth in all of us. And so helping us pull out of that in a structured way to start thinking about, okay, how can I lean into God, I think is the important thing. I'll be announcing in that session as well, that workshop, that I'm going to be doing some different kinds of group settings. I'm super excited about it because I think it's pretty unique to who I am and what I know about who you are. And so I'm really excited about that as well. It is a long weekend. So I am excited about that because I kind of need it. And even though we're on COVID watch and not leaving our house probably until tomorrow, it's still like, I think having this time with my son, and maybe that's why God did this, having this time with my son that I wouldn't normally have has been a real blessing. So I am always here to just help you guys. And as always, thank you so much for being a part of this collective. This is always the best part of my day, when I'm hanging out with you ladies and the one person who's not a lady, which is my brother. Just thank you for being a part of this collective and for making it what it is, because it wouldn't be here without you. So have a great Labor Day weekend. Stay safe. If you need some prayers, let's post them up. I'll be doing that post on Sunday as well, but feel free to DM me if you just need a prayer, spoken or otherwise. So love you ladies, and I will talk to you later. Have a great weekend. Bye.